Hello everyone. I am so happy to hear that most of you enjoyed the last video, part 4 of this series. And hopefully you will find this video very interesting also. I sure was amazed while I was doing all the research for it. So we're going to step back in time, just a little to July 30th, 1924. Now, as you can see from the title, this video has to do with angels and women. In the Watchtower from July 30th, 1924, which I will show you on screen in a moment, there was a recommendation to read a book entitled Angels and Women. This book, Angels and Women, is a revised version of the original book entitled Seolah. These two books are very hard to find today, but I found someone who had the actual hard copies of these books, so you will see pictures taken straight from these books on the screen here shortly. So first off, let's start with the Golden Age. This is the one I was speaking of earlier from July 30th, 1924. And we're going to look at this page here, which is 702, and we're going to zoom in on this bottom portion here entitled Review of a Book. So let's go ahead and hear this review of a book which says, quote,
Angels and Women is the title of a book just off the press. It is a reproduction and revision of the novel, Seolah, which was written in 1878, and which deals with conditions prior to the flood. Pastor Russell read this book with keen interest, and requested some of his friends to read it, because of its striking harmony with the scriptural account of the sons of God described in the 6th chapter of Genesis. Those sons of God became evil and debauched the human family prior to, and up to the time of, the Great Deluge. We call attention to this book because we believe it will be of interest to Bible students who are familiar with the machinations of the devil and the demons and with the influence exercised by them prior to the flood and also now in this evil day. The book is revised and published by a personal friend of Pastor Russell, and one who was close to him in his work.
At this time, as we know, Pastor Russell had passed away on a train in Pampa, Texas on Halloween night, October 31st, 1917. So this article was written and published in the year 1924 when Joseph Rutherford had become president. Russell had read this book Angels and Women, that had been revised and published by a very close friend of his. Russell enjoyed the book so much that he wanted all Bible students to read it. But unfortunately he died before being able to print his recommendation. So this is Rutherford publishing Russell's recommendation, because he too agreed that this book should be read by all of the Bible students. Okay, so now we are going to look at the other Golden Age. This one is from December 3rd, 1924. On page 150. In this article we see that the Society has received some letters from Bible students regarding the book review. And there is a reply from the Society regarding these letters. The first letter is from a sister and she says, quote,
Golden Age, pardon me for taking this much of your time on what may be so simple a matter, but I was approached about going into a club to get a certain book called Angels and Women. I made some inquiries and was told that it was a book that a fallen angel dictated to a woman, showing a desire to come back into harmony with God, and that Pastor Russell approved of the book. I had never heard of the book before, and as we are to shun anything akin to Spiritism, I should like to know positively whether the book has your approval before buying one. So if it is not asking too much, would like a reply. Mrs. W. S. Davis, Los Angeles, California.
So this sister had gone to the bookstore and they told her that the writer of Angels and Women had been told what to write by a fallen angel. So understandably this sister thinks this is not the kind of book Jehovah's Witnesses would read. So she wants to be positive that this is the book they are recommending. Let's see what the Society's reply is. They said, quote,
To both the above letters we reply as follows. When Pastor Russell was here, he read a book dealing with conditions that obtained prior to the flood. He requested some of the brethren to read it. It was so much in harmony with the Bible account of the fallen angels, that he regarded the book as remarkable. Under his supervision it was revised, and later published by one who was formerly his confidential associate. The new book is published under the title Angels and Women. Scriptural citations are given. An appendix is added. As to its being a violation of the vow to read this book, such idea is not worthy of consideration. It would be no more wrong to read it, than to read what say the scriptures about spiritism or talking with the dead, for both these books quote much as to what the evil spirits do. Many have derived much benefit from reading Angels and Women because it aids in getting a clearer vision of how Satan overreached the angels, and overreached the human race, and caused all the havoc amongst men and the angels. It helps one to a better understanding of the devil's organization. The book is published by the A.B. Abbock Company.
So as we've seen back in July, they told the Bible students to get the book. Then in December they told this sister who was concerned to not worry about it. Well, here is the book. As you can see, it even says published by A.B. Abbock Company. Let's just look at the foreword here. It tells how this woman J. G. Smith had been compelled to write it after listening to beautiful music. It goes on to talk about Russell calling him the greatest Bible scholar of all time. But anyway, it states how he wanted his personal friend to revise Seola and publish it. And that's what he did here with Angels and Women. Then on page 5 we can see that even Russell's friend knew that the revised of this book is of the opinion that the original manuscripts was dictated to the woman who wrote it by one of the fallen angels, who desired to return to divine favor. Now think about that. A fallen angel is a demon. Here is a book written by a demon, and the society is telling its members to read it. That is what Seola and Angels and Women is all about, demons. How could Russell and Rutherford ever think that a book written by a demon was something anyone should read? And we all know for years and years the Watchtower Society has said that they are God's channel on earth. The only one God is using. Well, we can clearly see God is not using them because God would never tell his people to read a book written by a demon. Now there may just be another reason why they were so keen on recommending this book. And it has to do with a man named Clayton J. Woodworth. He was the editor of both of the magazines that the Society put out. He also was an author of some of the finished mystery. So he was a pretty important guy. He remained the editor until the 1940s, when they had changed the name of Consolation to Awake. But what we are going to look at is this convention report from 1913. And it's about the vow. So let's read this first paragraph. It says,
I wish to speak to you of something I certainly never intended mentioning at this convention. I presume you have all taken the vow, but perhaps some of you have not.
So as we see here, Charles Russell had a vow that he wanted the Bible students to take. But Clayton Woodworth here has some reservations about the vow. And he's internally conflicted with regards to it. He goes on to explain of how he wrote Russell a very, very long letter regarding it. And he speaks of how thankful he is that Russell was very patient with him. He says,
With me, the vigorous opposition to the vow was not a case of having any grouch against Brother Russell or anybody else, but a case of having too much confidence in myself, in my own judgment. Then began my troubles. I began to pray and to fight it in my own way with the scriptures.
Woodworth goes on to speak about even more letters he had written Russell, some being 50 pages long. Woodworth clearly is not expressing a desire or an agreement with this vow of Russell's. But the most important paragraph is this next one here, where Woodworth says,
Well, the matter went on. There was a time for 5 consecutive nights when I never slept a wink. Then came a time when the strain was too much. My mind became unbalanced. And I came directly under the influence of evil spirits. So much so, that for 3 days, I was as completely under demonic control as was Mrs. Eddy when she wrote Science and Health.
Isn't that amazing? Here is the editor, the man who gave the Bible students their meat in due season. The editor of the Golden Age. Of the Consolation. He's the author of a significant portion of Volume 7 of Studies in the Scriptures, the Finished Mystery. And this man is saying that he is demon-possessed. He is a demon-possessed editor. That is astounding. Because as a Christian, you cannot be demon-possessed. C.J. Woodworth was not a Christian. He wasn't a Christian due to believing in the Watchtower's theology, which believes in a totally different Christ. You don't go around saying you are demon-possessed. That is not an accurate understanding of the Scriptures. Let's look here at these two scriptures. The first one is 1 Corinthians 7 verse 23. It says,
"You were bought with a price. Do not become bondservants of men."
You were bought with the blood of Jesus Christ, who is not going to allow you to become demon-possessed. The second scripture is John 1 verse 12, which says,
"But to all who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God."
So you are children of God, if you are a Christian. Clayton Woodworth was not a Christian. And here was this demon-possessed man, authoring articles that Jehovah's Witnesses, at least back in the day, were reading and accepting as meat in due season. Well, it was very rotten, meat in due season. Some may say, but this happened a long time ago. What does this say about the society today? At least once every year, the society says in its literature that it is under the direct control of Jehovah God. As we have seen, there is no way they can be under the direct control of God, because God would not allow the author of his magazines to become demon-possessed. He would not allow them to author biblical literature while under demon possession. And remember, this is the editor who published the article that told its members to read Angels and Women, a book written by a demon. So it's just amazing how much demons, angels, possession there is in this organization. If you are still in this organization, you need to check your relationship with them, because it is a false organization. And should you decide to stay in it, you may soon hear these words at Matthew 7 verse 21 to 23, where it says,
"Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father, who is in the heaven. On that day, many will say to me, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? And cast out demons in your name? And do many mighty works in your name?' And then will I declare to them, 'I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness.'"
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next time.